Now at 9, Hurricane Milton is making landfall. We're tracking its path, plus last-minute evacuation plans.
Addressing Delaware County's low voter turnout, how a grassroots effort is turning that around to get more people to the polls.
A federal law cannot be enforced in Texas. Find out who is affected.
Could there be a breakup of Google? How the Department of Justice could part ways with the major search engine. Find out what this means for you.
Local news about local people, live from Ball State Unified Media. You're watching NewsLink Indiana.
Within the last few minutes, Hurricane Milton made landfall on the western coast of Florida as a Category 3 storm.
You're taking a live look at the coast as millions of residents, many who have already evacuated, are facing another deadly storm.
Tonight, residents bracing for impact and praying for safety. Good evening, and thanks for joining us at 9. I'm Andy Zelaya.
And I'm Corey Shaw. We've got a lot to get to as we monitor Hurricane Milton's impact on people in Florida. We'll get last-minute rescue efforts in just a moment.
Right now, we're joined by Chief Weather Forecaster Noah Gordon, who's been tracking this storm all day. Noah, we're not seeing effects of the storm here like we did with Helene.
Yeah, luckily for us, a quiet night around here, but if we take a look down in Florida, a very long night is ahead for the central Gulf Coast here. If we take a look at our radar here, we see Milton moving up into the region here. It's really been wobbling as it's been moving up the western Gulf Coast, but as we see, if we look here onto the weather radar here, we see we see a hurricane moving up all along the Gulf Coast, making impacts just south of Tampa Bay here. We can see that outer band really moving on to shore here, especially in the central part of the state, bringing over a dozen tornadoes to parts of the region. So things have already been pretty disastrous, and the storm has just made landfall in the past 30 minutes here near Sarasota. Now, the three things I'm watching tonight, obviously the hurricane, the big deal, but we're also tracking drought returning to our region and the first frost of our season possible. All this and more coming up later in the show.
Thank you, Noah. Tonight, the Biden administration continues to monitor the trajectory of this deadly storm.
They also face a bigger challenge in light of misinformation about the response to Hurricane Helen. Tonight, Julia Benbrook joins us from Washington.
President Joe Biden urging those near the storm to listen to local officials and follow safety instructions.
I know it's really tough, leaving behind your home, your belongings, everything you own.
The Biden administration has detailed a long list of steps it's taken already to prepare for Hurricane Milton, including approving Florida's pre-landfall emergency declaration, deploying federal personnel to the state for search and rescue efforts, and ramping up efforts to clear debris from Hurricane Helene.
We have made available an unprecedented number of assets to deal with this crisis. We're going to continue to do so until the job is done.
The politics of managing storm recovery have become a serious flashpoint. The president and top White House officials have grown extremely concerned about the spread of disinformation about the federal response to last week's Hurricane Helene, including falsehoods repeated by former President Donald Trump. Vice President Kamala Harris is accusing Trump of putting himself before the needs of others.
It is unconscionable, frankly, that anyone who would consider themselves a leader would mislead desperate people to the point that those desperate people would not receive the aid to which they are entitled.
Meanwhile, the Republican ticket is accusing the Biden-Harris administration of mismanaging the response to Hurricane Helene. In a Wall Street Journal op-ed, Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, claimed a bureaucratic bottleneck was delaying the deployment of active-duty military personnel. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Tonight, last-ditch efforts to escape Florida ahead of Milton's landfall are being made, but not without some major travel hurdles. Flight Radar 24 shows the snapshot of how air traffic is being affected by the storm. It's still possible to fly out of the state if you can make it out of Central Florida. Airports in Tampa, Orlando, and Daytona are closed, but flights are still operating out of Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. Officials at those airports say it's still best to double-check and make sure flights haven't been canceled before traveling there.
The FBI says it has foiled a terror plot against Americans on Election Day. Agents arrested 27-year-old Najir Amon Tahiti in Oklahoma on Monday. The FBI took him into custody after he brought rifles and ammunition from an undercover law enforcement officer. Investigators say he and an unnamed juvenile planned to stage a violent attack in the United States on Election Day. Tahiti allegedly was going to carry out the attack on behalf of ISIS. Court documents indicated Tahiti began talking with an ISIS recruiter on the internet last August.
This past Monday was the last day to register to vote. The voter outreach group Grassroots hosted an event in Muncie that allowed citizens to register.
NewsLink Indiana's Amelia Winter shows us how this effort is hoping to get more people to the polls.
With the general election approaching fast, exercising your right to vote is useful, especially in local elections. In the 2020 general election, only 58% of those registered to vote in Delaware County voted, which makes Delaware County among the lowest in the state for voter turnout. However, this year, Grassroots, a voter outreach program, hosted an event to help citizens in Muncie register to vote with the intent to help change the statistic.
Your vote means something. Every vote means something. So if you don't do it, you're just wasting your voice.
Among those registered to vote are citizens with criminal backgrounds who add to the statistic of low voter turnout. Regardless of your background, voting helps advocate for change.
There are opportunities for them to put back into society things that maybe they have taken away from society.
However, many citizens with previous criminal backgrounds are unaware of their voting rights.
Many individuals on felony probation here in Delaware County that don't realize they still have the ability to vote unless that right has been removed via a court order.
For many citizens in Delaware County, safety is a main issue they focus on.
As a public safety official, when we discuss issues related to public safety in Muncie, Delaware County community, that the public is involved in public safety.
No matter your background, citizens should make themselves heard by voting for what they believe in. In Muncie, Amelia Winter, NewsLink, Indiana.
For more information, go to indianavoters.in.gov.
A federal law requiring hospitals to provide emergency abortion care or lose federal funding cannot be enforced in Texas. The law, known as the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, says federally funded hospitals must perform emergency abortions, even in states that ban the procedure. The state of Texas successfully sued the Biden administration over the law, and it was upheld by a lower appeals court. The Justice Department had asked the Supreme Court to wipe away that ruling and instruct the lower courts to reconsider the case. Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court sided with the state, leaving in place the court order blocking the Biden administration from enforcing the policy.
The U.S. government is weighing in on the breakup of one of the world's largest and most consequential monopolies, Google. In a court filing yesterday, the Justice Department said it may recommend separating Google's search business from Android, Chrome, and the Google Play App Store. The DOJ says this would prevent Google from using its search features to advance its products over rivals. In a blog post, Google says the government's potential plan could make the customer experience worse and undermine people's privacy. This comes after a federal judge ruled in August that Google had violated antitrust law with its search business.
Just ahead, fall brings sweater weather. How Minnetrista is ringing in the season with more events.
Plus, addressing health inequalities between men and women. One famous philanthropist, $250 million effort coming up.
Dear moms and dads, what you have achieved here today is going to help us and our futures. It is why we are coming up on stage to collect your diplomas.
You know it's true.
Mom, love you always.
Everything I do.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew a girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Man, it's lonely. Like, going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
Fall is in the air, and that means Minnetrista is hosting several events to dive into the season. Minnetrista held a family adventure fall festival today. The festival provided free 2-hour sessions packed with seasonal activities. Session times were 10 a.m. to noon, 1 to 3 p.m., and 4 to 6 p.m. Attendees met in the center building to collect a brochure and gifts. Families then set off to experience the workshops. The workshops included lawn games, scratch arts and crafts, a cider press demo, food, and a special visit from ARF.
The goal is to invite all the families from Muncie and the surrounding communities come out and enjoy Minnetrista free of charge today. Kind of a highlight so that we can welcome people, celebrate the fall season.
Be sure to stay aware of Minnetrista's upcoming events. Visit Minnetrista Museum and Gardens on Facebook for more information.
Melinda French Gates has launched a new $250 million fund to improve women's mental and physical health. Action for Women's Health will help address the health inequities between men and women. French Gate previously said she decided to financially support reproductive freedoms after the Supreme Court decision that let states decide abortion rights. French Gates is one of the world's wealthiest and most predominant philanthropists. As part of her divorce agreement with Bill Gates, she received $12.5 billion from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation when she resigned in June.
A final exam for students at an Oregon high school was given in the field instead of a classroom. A new program teaching students practical skills put them to the test to show off their skills building a tiny house. Spencer Scheidt takes us to see their final project in Portland.
And that's so stinking good. It's beautiful.
Last year at this time, this house was just a trailer bed.
Yeah, and then we just started working on it, putting wood, studs down.
Mateo Shannon graduated from Jefferson High School in 2024, and his last school project was finishing this tiny home.
It got very close to deadlines, and then, some kids stayed after school.
This is a first-of-its-kind project for Jefferson. The new Career Technical Education program was fully funded by Anderson Construction and led by one of their superintendents.
Mateo and a lot of the other guys on the inside, too, as well. The seniors were the ones that really upped it up at the end to help them to get the inside done. It was really great.
Like any new program, there were some bumps in the road.
I don't know how many screws. We probably broke 5 boxes of screws trying to get those screws in, too. It takes a little bit to learn. It's okay, guys. That's what you guys are here for, learning.
Students worked on every aspect of this house, from the floorboards to the cabinets and everything that goes in between the walls.
They just had me doing a lot of insulating, and other people doing stuff in the bathroom. They'd be doing a little bit of plumbing or a little bit of painting on the outside.
The students even picked out the paint, and of course, they went with Jefferson's colors.
The whole thing just popped with the white and the black and the blue. It came out really beautiful.
And the students came out with some great life skills.
Like at home, just a few weeks ago, I changed the light switch. That I learned how to do here building the tiny home. So it was cool. I was like, hey, Dad, I just fixed this light switch. I was like.
The plan is to auction off the tiny home in November, and all proceeds raised from the sale will go back into the CTE program.
Much cooler weather ahead. How cold will we get? All of the full details coming up after the break.
As a dad, every day is a challenge.
To make sure that the time that I have, I spend with them,
It doesn't matter how tired you are, you have to try to teach them. When they learn something new, and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
When tornadoes touched down in parts of our viewing area, NewsLink Indiana kept you informed days in advance.
You do need to be seeking shelter.
Marginal risk of severe weather.
And days after.
The roof has been ripped completely off of this house,
giving you a first-hand look at the communities affected.
When your neighbors lose their house and you don't, how lucky you are.
The first to alert you of severe weather before it happens. NewsLink Indiana Weather.
Can't believe you're doing this alone. I've done it before. I remember you threw your back out. How you holding up? Hand me that board. Nothing wrong with getting help. I'm good. I did it when Felicia left. I'll figure it out. I know you will, but you don't have to do it alone. That's all I'm saying. If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence? Now you need my help. It can be a real pain sometimes, you know that? Mm-hmm.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Welcome back. It is now 9:15 and Hurricane Milton continues to barrel toward the west coast of Florida, just days after residents picked up the pieces from Hurricane Helene.
Our Nora Golden joins us now with the latest as this deadly storm barrels towards the west coast of Florida.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. Overall, the storm has weakened somewhat. Still a Category 3 major hurricane that made landfall just south of Tampa Bay and Sarasota County as a Category 3 hurricane with 120 miles an hour wind. But overall, if we take a look here at current temperatures around the region here, overall, still a pretty chilly night and a much calmer night, especially for what people are seeing down in South Florida. 59 in Muncie, 66 in Indianapolis, South Bend, the cold spot at 52 in the state here. Now, if we look at the almanac for today here, we see today's high of 75 degrees, right around that average high of 70 degrees for this time of year. Obviously, nowhere near the record high of 87, set only back in 2020, but overall, it was a perfect fall day and going to be a pretty chilly fall night as well. If you're headed out anywhere, especially here tonight, going to be clear skies with a low of about 42 degrees, those calm winds. I definitely recommend grabbing a jacket if you're headed out late here. Going to be pretty chilly considering what we've seen recently here. Overall though, tomorrow a few degrees cooler, sunny, only 68 here in Muncie. Going to be a pretty cool, nice day. Winds out of the west at about 5 miles an hour, really not going to make too much impact on our weather. Now, speaking of weather makers, the biggest one here, Hurricane Milton, just made landfall at about 8:30 as a Category 3 hurricane right south of Tampa and Tampa Bay here in Sarasota County, like I mentioned, with sustained winds of about 115 miles an hour. Now, the lucky thing about this one is that unlike Helene, where we saw it move up into the Appalachians, this storm should move off the coast into the Atlantic here by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, so we shouldn't see any significant Atlantic flooding or significant Appalachian flooding, excuse me, like we saw with Helene. Now, we're not seeing much rain at all here in Indiana. In fact, we're not going to see practically any impacts from Milton here in east central Indiana. And because of that, we're going to kind of back bit into the drought here. We look at our drought monitor, Blackford, Jay, and Delaware counties back in that moderate drought category like we saw a few weeks ago here. Northern parts of Delaware County still in the moderate drought conditions. Now, tonight, though, we see here above average temperatures over the next 6 to 10 days, especially out on the Rockies. But look at this here. Some fall chills here as we head into next week with below average temperatures across most of the eastern seaboard, which is going to bring us our first real shot at fall weather here in east central Indiana. And with that, we're going to have some chances at frost for the first time this season here. We see our average first frost on October 3rd, so it might be a few days past what we normally would see for our first fall frost, but we're obviously nowhere near our latest frost of November 12th, which was set in 2016. Now, if we take a look at that 7-day forecast, here we see Thursday going to be the coldest day of this week, 68. 76 on Friday. Clouds return 78 on Saturday, but still 71 on Sunday. And then we see temperatures really drop as a cold front moves into the region. By the time we get to your Columbus Day forecast, I know a lot of people have that off. 55 degrees, really highs we haven't seen since April or May here. And then temperatures still in the mid-50s by the time we get next week. So overall, just fall returning. It's going to feel a lot better out there than it has been.
Thank you so much, Noah. There's lots more to get to on NewsLink Indiana. Jack Farrar has a preview of sports.
Thanks, Andy and Corey. Some Ball State sports try to wrap up their seasons on top, while others look to open up with a bang. Plus, an NFL coach gets fired in a shocking move. All this and more next in sports.
It's something about having that piece of paper. Some people think that's worth more than my skills.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
You just gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Analytics and empathy. That's how I've gained clients.
I am more.
I'm more
than who I am on paper.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
¿Qué color? Perfecto, mijo. Gracias. Thank you. What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
At night, NewsLink Indiana brings you the news before you go to bed.
But Friday mornings, you're waking up with Cardinal Weather, bringing you up to speed on the day's top stories.
And giving you up-to-the-minute conditions from the Ball State Weather Center.
And of course, lots of fun.
I gave mine personality. Look, it's got eyebrows.
Ooh.
My lucky glove didn't even work.
But I also am excited for those fall temperatures.
Start your Friday mornings with Cardinal Weather, live on the Cardinal Weather Facebook page.
Welcome back to NewsLink Indiana. I'm Jack Farrar with sports. Fall break is officially over for the Cardinals, but the fall seasons are in full swing. NewsLink Indiana's Max Robson looks to see what's new in the stadiums.
As fall break passes for Cardinal families, Cardinal athletes are looking to finish off their season strongs at the top of the rankings, while some athletes are just starting their season, revving up their engines right behind me in Worthen Arena. As the hoop season looks to begin, head coach Brady Sadley and the women's Cardinals squad opened their wings to 3 new transfers and 2 true freshmen as the squad looks to build upon their past season after finishing second in the MAC conference. Star guard Allie Becky looks to keep topping the Cardinal charts in her senior year as she is 193 assists away from the Cardinal assist leader as they begin tip-off against IU Kokomo on the 30th. On the other side of the court, head coach Michael Lewis and the men's squad might have said goodbye to a few athletes, including forward Bashir Jihad, but the Cardinals bring home 4 transfers out of the portal, including former Mr. Basketball Joey Hart, as well as Cardinal turned Hoosier Peyton Sparks. These new additions look to propel the Cards above 500 after a 15-16 record last year. On the grass at Schumann, the Cardinals look to fly high after break and a 1-4 start to the season. For bowl eligibility, the squad will need to win 5 of their last 7 games. And after one athlete competed in the Olympics over the summer, Ball State Swim and Dive look to hit the water swimming right here in Llewellyn Aquatic Center on the 12th. In Muncie, Max Robson, NewsLink, Indiana.
To toss things over to the pros, a surprise firing took place in the NFL yesterday. The New York Jets are parting ways with head coach Robert Saleh. Team officials announced Saleh's firing Tuesday following this weekend's loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Saleh had an overall record of 20 wins and 36 losses in the regular season, never amassing more than 7 in a single campaign. He never took the Jets to the playoffs during his 3+ seasons with the organization. Defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich will reportedly succeed Saleh as an interim head coach. The Jets' next game is at home against the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. To keep things on the NFL stage, a record crowd is expected for the 2025 NFL Draft in April, and the host city is preparing well beforehand for it. The Green Bay Austin Straubel International Airport is preparing for its busiest week ever. In fact, the airport has been planning for the past 2 years for all the extra activities that surround the hype of the draft. Airport officials say they've already added extra flights in and out of the city, and they expect more to be added in the coming months. Officials say they're planning for some 800,000 plus football fans to descend upon Green Bay to witness the NFL Draft. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited to see Ball State men's basketball come back, especially with Payne Sparks coming back. I'm really excited.
I'm also excited. Thank you so much, Jack. A never-before-seen painting was resurfaced. Find out the journey it went through.
And a final look at weather after the break.
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're looking at a rare pastel painting by Claude Monet that has had a remarkable journey. A couple in Austria bought the piece titled Bord de Mer in 1936. Then they stored it in a shipping warehouse to send to themselves when they fled the Nazi regime 2 years later. But Hitler's Gestapo seized it and it vanished. The painting finally resurfaced in 2016 at an exhibit in France, and a Louisiana antique dealer bought it and sold it to a couple in Washington State. I mean, that is just a beautiful story, and I'm just so happy that the painting was able to come back to us.
It really is a beautiful story, and I'm happy that that family was able to get their painting. But let's hear about some of those waves that the painting must have had to interact with. Noah?
Yeah, guys, overall, quiet weather across the region here, despite the fact we have Milton making landfall in central Florida tonight. But here at home, a beautiful week ahead, really fall average temperatures for fall here. 68 on Thursday, Friday up to 76 under beautiful sunny skies. Saturday and Sunday, clouds return, but those temperatures still in those mid to upper 70s. By the time we get to Monday, though, that cold front moves through and our first real shot of fall weather. Columbus Day, we have a high of 55 degrees. Tuesday, 53 degrees. Wednesday, 56. But look at those overnight lows there. We see 38 on Monday, 34 on Tuesday. That could bring us our first real shot of frost here. Patchy to even widespread frost Monday night and Tuesday night. So that would really signal the end of the growing season here for parts of East Central Indiana.
That's all tonight for NewsLink Indiana. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night at 9, streaming live on the NewsLink Indiana Facebook page.
And for news anytime, anywhere, just go to ballstatedaily.com. Have a great night and stay safe.